Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us in this edition of the news here at DBS Television with me, Mahngeh Vernasius Fola. President Paul Biya will be expected today to address the 72nd session of the United Nations General Assembly currently taking place in New York. World leaders attending the session have been taking turns to address issues concerning their country and the hopes of the coming year. Philip Sote in the following paper looks at some burning issues in Cameroon which the president might be addressing. His report.
When President Paul Biya addressed the United Nations General Assembly in 2016, focus was on climate change, citing the Paris Accord. Agenda 2030 that talked on sustainable development was also brought up. Concepts that takes care of human progress, heritage, common good and security. At the root of all these, the eradication of poverty, ambitious programs that, if implemented, could bring about equity in the way resources are managed. But as he observed, agendas, declarations, action programs have been adopted that raised hopes, but such actions did not go far enough to yield required fruits. As members of the world's body, some have perpetually remained at the receiving end and grouped themselves into what is commonly referred to as the Third World, while those nations that dictate the pace of events, known as the superpowers or the Gs, G8, G20, and the list goes on. President Paul Biya may be calling on those who still promote these disequilibriums to help the less advantaged come out of the vicious circle of staying at the receiving end. Vicious circles that sometimes bring about discontent among the people. Cameroon has, however, experienced its own share of the challenges, like the Boko Haram incursions in the extreme north of the country, unrest by lawyers and teachers that finally gave birth to what is today known as the Anglophone crisis. As a crusader for peace, President Paul Biya should certainly be asking the United Nations to set up objectives that ensures peace and prosperity for all. The time for principles has reached a dead end, and action is what is now required.
Une détermination et une action collective.
3 weeks gone into the 2017-2018 academic year in the Northwest region, classes are yet to be effective in most government, private and mission schools. Our Northwest regional correspondent, Nempa Francis, visited some schools across the region and filed in this report.
We are 3 weeks into the 2017-2018 academic year. Though a few number of government schools can boast of some few pupils and students showing up for classes, the situation in lay, private and confessional schools is different. In Bamenda, Bafut, Bello, Fundong and other parts of the Northwest region, the school attendance is still very timid.
In my division, Buyo division, that started timidly. In Bello, in Fundong, in Boom division is timidly, but in Fundong Central subdivision, you see the affluence is quite a hectic issue because the children are there in their uniform.
The timid start that we had as at the day of the opening with just about 15 to 20 students. The only hitch we had was the delayance in the publication of probatoire back results. Because students who wrote the probatoire who ought to have gone to class 7 if at all they pass, or repeat if at all they fail, were confused as to whether to register in class 6 or register in class 7.
Classes have been going on effectively, though the student population is timid, but the number of students that come, we make sure that they are being taught.
No student on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, 3 on Wednesday. Different students anyway, but I think that it's much better than we ended last year.
School gates and doors of mission and lay private schools still largely remained closed. Like in this school, where the last lesson was delivered on the 18th of November 2016. Few days to the November 21 all Anglophone teachers strike that later escalated to what we now know today as the Anglophone crisis.
Unfortunately, the children have not been in campus since then. And we're hoping that as time goes on, the children will come. And even the parents too will miss their children for us to teach them.
While many pupils and students now prefer other activities rather than schooling, a few who are in school are appealing to their peers to join them.
The students who sit in the house thinking the teachers don't teach, that in school they teach, they are waiting for students to come there. No, there are only a few of us in school. My classmates, I'm pleading, please come and join me. Teachers are waiting for you people to teach.
I appeal to those who are at home that they should come and join us. We are all of the four of us in class.
Even though security is tight in most government schools, parents still prefer to keep their children home for fear of the unknown.
And as a parent, I cannot risk the life of my child by pushing him to school when I don't know he will come back safe. So we are hoping in the days ahead, the government will do everything to put things in order for schools to resume normally without police standing or without anybody being afraid to, might be attacked on the way, or that the school might be burned. You see, that's the problem. That's why you can see I'm in the market selling my children instead of them going to school.
Despite all efforts made by government to redress the concerns raised by the Anglophone teachers' trade unions and the common law lawyers, schools have not been very effective in the two Anglophone regions of the country since November last year, coupled with regular ghost town calls.
Still in education news, and now in the West region, registrations of children with special needs is still going on in Bafoussam. However, poor organization and inadequate teaching aids have been blamed on poor results during end-of-course exams, as Jalo Buba tells us.
The 2017-2018 academic year is progressively being intensified. Parents are still registering their children in school 2 weeks after resumption, as the case with this lady who registered her child to the school of children with special need, or better still, deaf, dumb or physically handicapped. The lady in question justifies her lateness on the fact that the father of the child is in poor health. But to the school administrator, is better late than never, and she feels that parents do cater for the other children before the handicapped ones. End-of-year examination for this school was not the best, and the staff are pointing fingers at organizers for not taking into consideration children of special needs. The availability of adequate didactic materials designed for handicap is not enough for all the children. It's high time the Ministry of Social Affairs take a look into this issue of children with special needs as far as end-of-course examinations are concerned.
Low execution rate of the public investment budget for the non-division in the West region will soon become a thing of the past. This will only be possible if training workshops are a thing to go by. Jalo Buba once more.
Mayors and councillors of the Noon Division have taken part in the training workshop on how to manage public investment budget. This is the initiative of Honorable Patricia Ndamjoya, MP for the Noon Division. The Ministry of Planning and Regional Development backed up the initiative, which the stakeholders come together to update their skills in knowing how is the way forward to contribute in realizing the funds set aside for public investment projects in the Noon Division to foster its development. From present statistics, the rate of execution of the public investment budget for the division is very low. Some other partners with stake in the investment budget, like those of the Treasury, Delegate of Manpower, and those of the Regulatory Agency for Public Contracts, took part with the hope of making things better for the division.
Over in the North region, mayors of some 9 councils in Adamawa region have been exhorted to collaborate with investigators of the scorecard project within their municipality. The call was made by the governor of Adamawa region, Kildadi Buka, during the launching ceremony of the project recently in Gaundere. We have details in the following report. There are 9 of them: Tibati, Gaundere 3, Ngangha, Megangang, Dir, Njohang, Mbe, Nyamboka, and Gaundal, rural councils within the Adamawa region targeted by the scorecard. This is a working tool put in place by the National Participatory Development Program, PNDP, by its French acronym, to enable the population to evaluate the quality of work carried out by the state or the council within their municipality. As soon as the inquiries are made, the regional chief of PNDP for Adamawa indicates that they will be analyzed and transmitted to the Ministry of Economy, Planning and Regional Development so as to include them in the future projects. The various actors charged with carrying out this inquiry synchronized their modus operandi during a regional workshop to launch their activities. They were given guidelines by the governor, Kildadi Burka, which will act as their roadmap. To that effect, the governor invited the mayors of these 9 councils to receive the investigators and give them the necessary assistance to appreciate and evaluate the impact of the activities of the councils. He called on the investigators to carry out their task objectively and with seriousness. Through PNDP, the Cameroon government, with her technical and financial partners, have been working since 2004 to ameliorate living conditions of Cameroonians while reinforcing decentralization procedures. And it is with that news from Adamawa that we come to the end of this edition of the news. Keep watching programs here at DBS Television. The news comes up in the French language in less than an hour. Have a blessed day.